Red China's battle plan. Divide and encircle. Conquer and enslave. This film tells how it all came about.
Can't we agree that capitalism is an economic system, a system for the production and distribution of things we need and want?
Well, it's easy to see that you have different ideas of what capitalism is.
They're all in business to make profit.
Of course they make a profit, and it's a good thing. That's the incentive that makes capitalism work.
One of the first things you learn on the Chancellor course is that it's not actually money that makes the world go round. In fact, it sometimes seems that money actually makes the world go pear-shaped. No, it's credit that makes the world go round.
Hello, on last week's programme we asked where the money went. This week, using the kind of back-to-front logic that would get you a top job on Wall Street, we ask, where does it come from?
OK, so, OK, you got all your lifelines. That's phone a friend, 50/50, and an unlimited cash facility from the government. So, where does all the money come from? Is it A, savers? Could it be B, magic? Is it C, a secret stash in the Queen's underwear drawer? Or is it D, none of your business, you don't understand top-level economics, butt out sunshine? Answer coming up after this bailout. Well, the answer is, of course, it comes from savers.
So how much are we saving in the United States? Well, in the 50s and 60s, around 8% of our income. But now, in round figures, it's about nothing. Don't come much rounder than that. Next question.
Ah, yes, we see in Britain, I am in Britain, aren't I? we Brits seem to have this attitude of, what's the point? You're probably thinking it now. What's the point? What's the point in saving? We might join the euro one day, so I might as well spend all my pounds now.
Luckily, one country is saving. China.
China. For centuries, a mysterious and beautiful land, steeped in history, lost in time. But now, the workshop of the world. Here we see the city of Shanghai, growing so fast the street maps have to be redrawn every 2 weeks. In Britain, it's taken 2,000 years to make the city of London grow to the size of the city of London. In the Pearl River Delta, a city the size of London is built every year.
China's population is 1.3 billion. At least it was at the beginning of this sentence. Let's put that in context. That's like 650 million Richard and Judys. Terrifying.
100 years ago, they said Chicago was the world's fastest growing city. Put on nearly 1.8 million people in 50 years. In Chongqing in China, they just did it in 6. 1.8 million people. Still, at least they're smaller than we are. China is now the world's second largest importer of oil, its second largest military power, and its second largest economy. You're still looking at number 1 right here. Well, I have a message for our little Chinese friends. Enjoy it while you can, because we're coming after you. Because you depend on us. Who else would take your toys, and your electrical goods, and your Olympic swimming medals? Oh, sure, a few other countries could probably fill the odd cart with stuff, but we take the lion's share. And I mean the male lion's share, in that we do very little of the actual work ourselves. So keep doing what you're doing, because there are 2 things Americans love: buying stuff and not paying much when it does buy that stuff. Oh, and the right to bear arms. 3 things.
To some in the West, China's phenomenal growth represents a threat.
That is why whenever I visit China, I think it's extremely important that we encourage China to improve its performance on human rights and the environment, for the same reason that I always encourage young politicians to read the Bible. It won't stop them, but it'll slow them down for a few years.
In America, Nancy Pelosi, now the Speaker in the House of Representatives, fought for years to have China's most favoured nation status revoked. But Bill Clinton resisted.
It's like when you have a large spider on the wall. Are you going to take your eye off the spider? Or are you going to give it most favoured arachnid status? Because you've got to remember, If it weren't for China, we'd be in trouble.
According to popular legend, there are two things you can see from space: the Great Wall of China and the size of its foreign currency reserves.
Right, time for a bit of fun. Our business editor, Robert Paston, joins me. Robert, love the outfit. Put this into some kind of context for me, could you?
Well, Hugh, China's trade with the rest of the world means it's accumulated nearly $2 trillion in foreign reserves.
Oh, hang on, I'll get a calculator.
No need, Hugh. Just imagine a gigantic sum of money. Then imagine 3 more gigantic sums of money next to it. And then pop an extra $1 trillion on top of it, like a very expensive glacé cherry. There, you're getting close. Now, 70% of that money is held in American assets and treasury bills, growing, Hugh, by $1 billion every day.
OK, well, let's start a clock, shall we? Keep it running till the end of the programme?
You're on.
OK, there it is, folks, on the screen. Don't dial it.
For the last 25 years, China's economy has grown by around 10% every year. That money has to go somewhere, and the last place it's going is to the Chinese.
如果我哋俾錢我哋嘅公民，佢哋會用晒。If we gave money to our citizens, they'd only spend it, and then where would we be? We'd have inflation, production would fall, we'd lose money, and we'd lose space. So it pays to keep standard of living down.
The Chinese are mega savers. Remember, families are only allowed 1 child, so they can't rely on their children to look after them. And they can't rely on the state either. So they salt away something like 50% of their income, meaning the country lives way within its means.
Ah, there's old-fashioned.
Yes, it is rather cute, isn't it? And it's just as well as the United States lives way beyond its means. Now, normally if a country did that, they'd go bust. But because of all that investment coming in from China, they don't. If you look at this chart, here's where America gets its money from. If you go to Walmart, where it's reckoned almost 70% of the goods on display could be made in China, and buy a $30 toothbrush, most of the money goes to the company, Oral-B, and its distributors in the United States. 10% goes back to the manufacturer in China. The company's bosses then take it to the local bank, where they change it for Chinese currency, the renminbi, to pay their workforce, whose average wage is around $160 a month. Now, the dollars must then be surrendered by the local bank to the People's Bank, where it's piling up at $1 billion a day. Then it goes to SAFE, the State Administration for Foreign Exchange, and then back to America so they can buy more toothbrushes.
So the money that's earned in China goes straight back to America as the Chinese government stockpiles American treasury bills.
Just goes to show there's a very fine line between threatening communist superstate and valuable trading partner. China has crossed that line. Soviet Union never did. That's not rocket science. Which would you rather have? Cheap T-shirts or cabbage soup?
Ah, yes, you see, but can you trust them? I don't know. I mean, they know how to run an Olympics, but suppose they did a run on the banks. The ultimate Chinese takeaway. I mean, if you think what they say it would do if all the people in China jumped up and down at the same time, don't try this at home, just imagine the effect of 1.3 billion Chinese, all those little Chinese people queuing up at the National Bank of America asking to change their dollars into euros. It would be chaos, like me in the morning, or any time. I mean, the point is the Chinese could never do it fast enough. Because as soon as people notice the dollars being sold, the damn thing will be down quicker than my trousers at the office party.
But the idea of the Chinese selling dollars still frightens the Americans. A year ago, when a director of China's central bank told a Beijing conference that the dollar was losing its status as the world currency, it dropped to its lowest rate against the euro for 8 years. A similar thing happened when the director of National Economic Research Institute stated that the dollar was no longer seen as a stable currency. So the Chinese know the stakes are high.
See, there's one thing they know. If they our currency, they're going down with us.
The old Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction. Except for mad weapons, read Mad Economics. But as America comes to terms with its dependence on China, China is learning to come to terms with capitalism.
You know, the Chinese are learning a lot in a short space of time. Learning to diversify, spread the money around, make a few investments, get into private equity. As a matter of fact, they just gave $3 billion to my good friends at Blackstone Capital. Lost over 2/3 of it. So that's $2 billion you won't see again. Watch and learn, guys.
Not to be outdone, one of the West's top investment banks advised Beijing to buy